And I said, I want to do that. I want to become a boss. So I started off as an entrepreneur when I was 19 years old.
What made you get into the entrepreneur business?
I started off as an entrepreneur when I was 19 years old. I wanted to get into sales and I wanted to learn how to make money in selling products. So I went to T-Mobile, the cell phone carrier, and they didn't give me a job. So the next door was another company. The next door store, like the store that was next door, was a company called Metro PCS, and they sold phones as well. And I went to Metro PCS. I said, will you guys hire me? Give them my application. And they gave me a chance. And then it was a small business where I got to work with the owner, and I got to see how the owner operated. And I said, I want to do that. I want to become a boss. So I learned from him. I spent about 1.5 years working for him, just to learn the skill set of reading a company, running a company. And after I saw that it was possible because I saw someone else doing it, I said, oh, if he could do it, then I can do it. So what I figured out was proximity is power, like being close to somebody. So his name is James, and actually, funny story, James is black with earrings, right? Like how I am today, right? And I remember I didn't know he was the owner. And one day I was working at a store, and before I got a chance to meet him, he walks in, black dude with earrings on a phone, and he walks in, passes me, doesn't even say hi, just passes me. And next thing you know, he walks in the back, and I was like, oh shit, we're being robbed. Like we're being robbed right now. And the reality was he owned the business, and he ended up teaching me so many skills like sales, leadership, how to run a business. When I was working with him, I didn't even have a credit card.
What would you say helped you the most with being able to do sales easier?
What helped me do sales easier was studying. I constantly studied sales, but most importantly, I got into it. Like I just did it, and I fumbled every single time. I'm still learning sales today, right? And I'm constantly growing in my sales skills. Every time that I sold, I've gotten better and better and better. So like the first time, I'd fumble on my words. I don't know how to communicate. But then the second time, I realized like, what could I have done differently? So when I get to that scenario, I'm like, okay, I know what to do. So meaning like there'll be scenarios where in me doing sales, if I start talking too long in the sales process and I'm talking and jibber jabbering and the person is like, hey, this is too much, I'm going to reflect on my sales on that conversation. I'm going to say, what could I have done differently? And then I would realize like, hey, I talked too long.
Yeah.
And then next time I'm going to talk less.
So just more of like self-reflections.
Self-reflecting. So number one is I take the action. Number two is I reflect and ask myself these questions. What did I do right? And what could I have done differently? So I would think of a conversation that I had with somebody who I'm selling a product or service to. And I would say, okay, I didn't get the sale. What did I do right, Bill? Like, what were the things that I did right that the customer found value in? And I would reflect and I would say, well, I proposed the right price point. I understood their goals. I understood their pain points. Now, what could I have done differently? Well, what I could have done differently was I should have dig deeper in asking different questions. I should have gotten their partner involved. I should have brought in their wife, or I should have brought in their husband. And then now on the next time, when it's time for me to sell, I'm going to say, well, do you remember, Andy, your coaching of what you could have done differently? What you could have done differently? You said you were bringing the partner or the wife or the husband. This time, do it. So while I'm in the middle of the sales call, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, let's bring in your partner, or let's bring in your wife, or let's bring in your husband. And then that sale I got, oh, okay, now I'm progressing. Because that's what this is about. So this is about a game of progressive.
What made you want to start a business in software?
The reason why I got into software, I was running a marketing agency where I was building out people's websites, their email sequences. And in order for me to do that service, I would tell them, you need to buy the software. So I would tell them to go to like Kajabi, WordPress, or any of those other platforms. And I was constantly sending people to those companies. And I became an affiliate for those companies. An affiliate is when I'm essentially selling someone else's product, right? So I would say, hey, go get Kajabi, and then Kajabi would pay me a monthly commission. And I would get these checks every single month. I would get paid an alert every single month from a customer that I did a service for years ago. And I'm like, oh, I'm still getting paid because they still have the service. And then if I did the math, let's say that they paid me $5,000 for the service. right? So they pay me $5,000 to build out their website. It took me a lot of effort, a lot of work. I as a CEO was working with them, and then I had a whole team working with them for that $5,000. But that company, they may be paying $399 a month to use that software. And if they pay 3 years of $399, let's do the math. 3 years, which is 36 months, multiply that by 36 months times $399, that's $14,364. So that company that I brought them to made more income off the customer that I brought them to than the revenue that I made. That was first example. And did they ever have to talk to the CEO? No. Why? Because it was a software. It was a tool rather than a server. It was just a tool. So what really got me into the world of software, and I started to realize like that revenue, it was actually much more than the revenue of me doing the thing. Yeah. So when someone sells software, they're making passive income almost. It's like coming in every single month. And what I found out that wealth was, it's having revenue coming in every single month, whether you work on us. So like if I took the entire month off, someone is still running their business and they still need the software. But in your case, even like if you don't use your cell phone, you're still gonna pay your cell phone though. Even if you go a week and you're like, hey, I'm doing a phone detox, not using the phone this week, and like, you're still gonna pay your phone bill this month. So like I have some ideas of strategies for other industries to implement multi-recurring revenue in their business. I'll give you an example. I thought about this last night. So I know a barber, and like I used to be a barber. I used to cut hair years ago. And the barber charges $55 to go to people's house and cut the hair. And they only get paid when they go to do the service. So 2 weeks might pass and no income because that person's not there. Or even a month. Let's say the customer goes on vacation for a month. They go on vacation, they're gonna call the barber and pay the barber. So here's what my idea was. So if the barber is paying $55, if the barber is charging the customer $55, here's what he could do. He could charge $75 per haircut, or $199 a month with 4 sessions throughout the whole entire month. So here's an example of how it works. So what's the value? A guy like me, I need a haircut almost every week. So
Most men are like that.
most men get a haircut every week. So the math is $75. If you need a cut 4 times, it's $300 that'll cost for the month. Or you can join their $199 a month package. That $199 a month package it pays for 4 cuts. So Mr. Customer, on average, your cut is only gonna be $49.35. But you gotta pay and you gotta use it or lose it. Meaning that you only pay for, you're paying upfront for 4. And if you only use 3, then that's all you paid.
That's actually a really good idea.
So when the customer is out of town and they don't use it for that month, you still got $199 and you didn't have to do any haircuts. Almost any business can be turned into a subscription business.
That's actually a really good idea. Most people wouldn't actually think of that.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. Do you think as an entrepreneur that it's for it to be comfortable with being uncomfortable? If that's how you would phrase it.
The world today is changing fast.
It is.
3 years ago, ChatGPT wasn't a thing. It wasn't as popular as it is today.
That's very true.
Now,
everything is AI.
Everything's AI, right? And you gotta be very creative with your job. You gotta be creative with the value that you give to our companies. And I think that it's constantly being uncomfortable. Yeah, what's happening with AI and crypto today is very similar to like 24 years ago. What happened with the internet? You and I grew up in the world of the internet. Like during our adulthood, internet was around. But my parents and my parents' parents, they didn't have the internet, and it was like, are you gonna get with the internet or you're not? Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon, got with the internet early. Yeah, and now he's one of the richest men. Being an entrepreneur is being uncomfortable. Because in order to provide value, you have to get creative with the value that you deliver. And people pay for value.
What are other ways you would study sales?
I would go work with someone who sells and just go be around them. Sales is so many factors. It's what you say, it's how you say it, it's your mannerism, it's your confidence, it's how you present yourself, it's value proposition, it's your ability to articulate, it's your ability to understand and have empathy. So there's so many factors, because you can have a great product, but if that person doesn't feel like you care, yeah, you can look great, talk great, so on and so forth. But if they feel like you don't care, then they're gonna be like, you're a con man. So sales is so many factors. So I would go spend time. Yeah. If I would start all over again, the number one thing I would do is go spend some time. Like, I'm telling you, that is the number one secret, is go spend some time with people who are actually doing it. If you get around that person who's running a big business, $1 million business, what starts to happen is your standard starts to increase to that level, and that becomes the new floor. Yeah. My old boss, I had a boss before, and he would drive BMW to Mercedes-Benz. So when I started growing my business and I started making money, I was like, what I saw was in Mercedes-Benz. So I went to a dealership and I bought myself a Mercedes-Benz, right? And then I got around another gentleman who was doing well in his business. He was doing like $50 million a year, and he was driving a Rolls Royce. I said, hey, this car is $500 grand or $400 something grand. How does that feel to drive that car? What's different between a Toyota Camry and that? And he said, you want to drive it? I said, yeah. So he gave me the key, I went and I drove it. And I was like, it does feel different. The buttons are different. The small things are different. What does it take to have that type of business? And just by being around them, like, my mind started to shift. On YouTube, there's a bunch of videos of me like driving Lamborghinis and so on and so forth. It all comes around race off boxing. So I said, hey, this is where your role is at right now. And by you expanding the company in your department from here to here, you will have enough financial resources from the company to be able to buy your car.
From when you had first started running a business to now, what is the most important thing that you have learned for yourself?
The most important skill that I've learned is to delegate. Not to do everything by myself.
Yeah, that's true.
Most entrepreneurs who start their business are like, I gotta send an email. I gotta send a text message. I gotta set up the campaign. I gotta do X. I gotta fulfill the customer. No, let me talk to the customer. And the first step is getting some of the most basic things off of your plate. So that way you can help grow. I realized the way to help someone else grow is to give them the opportunities of the things that you're doing.
That's true.
Because if you can get it off your plate, you can grow as a leader, and then you can take that person under your wing and give them value as well.
That's very true.
So, like, the most basic things, like, for example, for me, I work out, I go to the gym, and it's a membership where it's a group training classes, and they have a ton of classes. You gotta select it. I don't personally select it. Yeah. Someone on my team reviews, selects it, makes a decision for me. But that way I'm not having to think about spending the 15 minutes of searching and finding the best class. If I work out twice a day, multiply that by 15 minutes each, so that's a half an hour. If the time, like the time of how much my time is worth, if an hour, if I want to make $1 million a year, that comes down to $500 an hour. So half of that is $250. So every 30 minutes is worth $250. So I ask myself, would I spend $250 just to search on the gym, on like the gym class? Would I spend $250? If I believe my time is worth $500 an hour, would I spend $250? The answer is no, I wouldn't. I'd rather pay someone else $20 to search that, right? So that's the idea of delegation. So I ask myself, how do I delegate almost everything in my life? Like, as we speak right now, my house is getting clean. Really? So when I come home today, I'm gonna have a clean house because my house is getting cleaned. And then my car, I'm gonna have someone else wash my car, right? So as much as I can delegate, I make an effort too. And that's why I see a lot of business owners struggle. But that's the first thing you gotta do to get things off your plate. So get things off your plate and delegate.